All right, in the Ram. So, I don't know why, but this thing just absolutely tickles me. Driving it is just nothing short of a joy. It's hard to describe. I mean, you're obviously driving a big Ram. I mean, that's there's no question. But it's different enough. I mean, I've driven several of the. This is the third generation Ram. Driven several of these, and in my opinion, they're not bad driving trucks. I know Dodge seems to get kind of a crummy opinion a lot, but I actually think these, they ride decently. They run a long time if you take care of them. I think the Hemi is a good engine. It's been around a long time. But this thing really is just, it's hard to put it into words. I mean, it's, you could call it a lifted Viper, but not quite. The shifting is, this one has a shorter shifter on it. It's a JTS short shifter. So it's firm, it's notchy, but I like it. It's kind of a rifle bolt action, and I actually really enjoy it. The thing rides, relatively firm. It gets a little jittery at times, depending on what kind of pavement you're on. It'll get unhappy and it can get unsettled, but overall, to be a Dodge Ram pickup it's apparently had some frame stiffening done. Lowered suspension. It's got Bilstein shocks, 22-inch wheels, and lower profile tires. You would expect this thing to ride like a buckboard wagon, honestly, and it's not bad. I mean, I'm cruising around right now, just driving around town, and the streets around here aren't perfect. I'm sure you'll see some camera jiggle here and there, but overall, it's impressive. The V10 is really tractable around town. You'd be surprised. You'd expect this thing, especially this one has a cam in it, I would expect it to be real lurchy and notchy at low speeds and just unhappy, kind of like my Ducati motorcycle is. But this thing really, overall, is really easy to run around. And overall, not any complaints. Now, one thing I love as well is the sound. We'll get into her a little bit here. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but this thing has, for me, it's plenty of power. I'm sure other people want more. They want to add blowers and everything. Of course, more power never hurts, but I think this thing has plenty, and it's plenty to get you into trouble. What's weird about it is, it's a big, heavy, it's about 5,000 pounds, and when you're up at speed, it really doesn't feel like it. I mean, 75 in this thing, for whatever reason, feels like about 50 to 55. And that's always surprised me about it. You wouldn't expect that to be the case in a Dodge truck. But overall, I will say, this thing seems to get a lot of attention. You see people looking at it and kind of want to know what it is. Some people just see a red Dodge truck, but some people, you see them staring and kind of wondering, okay, is that just a Dodge truck with wheels on it? Or is there something special? And a lot of people want to know, why is that spoiler on the back? What's that about? And I mean, honestly, my opinion is that the spoiler is a little bit tacky, I think. I mean, it's I've thought about taking it off. Of course, it affects usage of the bed as well. I have thought about removing it. But, it is part of the truck's character. It's what it was built with. And I can appreciate that about it. But, I have had thoughts about just kind of removing it and seeing how I like it without it. So this truck has had some modifications, as I showed in the underhood video. I don't know, really how much serious power those are adding, but it does have some. And sometimes it's a little notchy going into third. The transmission seems to do better when it's warm. I just started driving it, so it's not quite warmed up. Every other gear is fine, but going into third, sometimes if you don't, that gate is so narrow, if you don't hit it just right, you'll wind up, way over into fifth. So, other comments. What's also surprising to me is the steering. It's actually really tight. Of course, it's rack and pinion. There is almost no play on center. I mean, there is very, very little. That's really surprising to me. Before I drove this, before I went and bought it, I really thought that this thing was going to be just rattly and super harsh and hard to drive at low speeds and difficult to shift, super heavy clutch. And honestly, I've been really surprised. I mean, the only way you can really tell this thing sitting in it, is something special is with the can that's in it. It's, she lopes at idle, which I like, but you can feel it. It's not a smooth idle. That's just part of the charm and the character of this thing. So, overall, I'm thrilled with this. I mean, for the money to have something that's pretty rare. I don't know how many of them are surviving, that are left. I would guess of the regular cabs, 2,500 or so. I wouldn't think there's a whole lot left. I know a lot of these got wound up. Matter of fact, there's a video, it's 7 or 8 years old on YouTube, a guy. He takes off, and I mean, a couple blocks down the road, he rolls it over. And I'm guessing a lot of these have been wrecked and totaled out. Again, I don't know. I'm not part of the registry. I don't know what the actual numbers are. But, I would assume a lot of these, it's lightweight in the back. This has a big Dana 60, which is a limited slip. So, but, it's super easy to light the tires up on this thing. I mean, in the rain, it's almost not worth driving. But a lot of charm in something like this. I really think this thing has tons of character, tons of charm. I have zero regrets buying it. Other things I'm trying to think to mention, the radio is an Infinity system. It does have a little factory, it looks like a 10 or a 12 between the seats back here, and it actually works pretty well. I mean, compared to the factory BMW business radio cars I've had that really were pretty puny, this thing, for what it is, it sounds really good. All the speakers still work fine, and really not a lot to complain about with the audio either. I mean, again, you're talking about Chrysler quality from the mid-2000s, so my expectations weren't high. Now, how does it compare to the Viper? Well, of course, the thing sits way up high, so the handling's not quite as good, but again, it really shocked me when I first drove it. And I'm going to do a little bit more here. This thing is just, as I said before, it's probably something that Dodge never should have built, but the fact that it exists is just a treat to me. This thing just, I can't help but giggle whenever I drive or even look at it. It makes no sense on paper. It's, the bed's pretty small. It really doesn't tow. So a lot of people, consider the truck to be a joke, and I get that. I didn't buy this to use it as a truck and, use on the farm and stuff like that. I bought this thing basically just to be a toy. I don't expect to do a lot of hauling with it. Sure, I mean, if I could throw a jet ski or something on a trailer in the back, great. Or throw a lawn tractor in the bed occasionally, something like that. Sure, I mean, that would be great. It's fine for that, but this is not something you buy if a truck is something you need every day and your drive requires it. It really doesn't make any sense. But that's, to me, completely part of the charm. So otherwise, the truck to me is, to be 15 years old, to be a performance truck, it's held up really well, I think. And again, I don't know where the value on these is going to go, but I don't see this thing dropping any further. Again, no way to know, and of course with the virus stuff I got going on, nobody knows, but I really don't think these are going to go down a whole lot more. It would be hard, for that to be possible to me. It's just such a rare truck. I mean, it's the numbers aren't, super, super low, but I think they made a total of, it's around 5,000 or 6,000. So, over the course of 3 years. And they, I've seen a couple of others on the road, but this is not something that really, you're hardly ever going to see passing. And that's another thing that I really like about it. So otherwise, I really appreciate you guys watching, and maybe we'll do a little in-the-shop update possibly, or a little undercarriage tour. But for now, that'll do it. Hope you guys have a good day.